Hello everybody, and thank you so much for joining Mindful Mornings with me. It's something that I wanted to do for a really long time, and I've kind of just been a little bit too scared to launch it, so I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to be on this journey with you. As I said, it's the first time I'm doing it in this format, so it's also a journey for me as well. So any feedback throughout and towards the end would be greatly appreciated. So all I'm gonna do now is I just wanna go over the document that I sent you about the science behind what we're doing. So I started this practice years ago and it completely changed my life. So if you're familiar with Joe Dispenza, it is a lot of his teachings. There's a few other guys in there that I've studied, and I'll give you a list of all the books I've read and everything as well. But a lot of this stuff most of it is from Dr. Joe Dispenza. So if you look up his stuff, this is what he's all about. And it just, the way he explains things just really clicked with me. I really like to understand the science behind what I'm doing. So that's why I'm sharing this with you guys. So everything that I'm saying right now is in the document. So you don't have to watch this. It's just, I know some people like to, or can learn better by hearing things rather than reading. So that's why I'm sending you this on as well. So basically, the average person thinks between 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day, and 90% of these thoughts are the same of yesterday, and only about 5% of these thoughts are conscious. So 95% of these thoughts are unconscious. And if you're not aware of your thoughts, a lot of the time it can just be ramble, chatter in the back of your head. And a lot of the time if we're not aware of our thoughts, we think that we are our thoughts, if that makes sense. So they're going on in the background and we believe what they're saying if we're not aware of them. So the first step is really just to becoming aware of those thoughts. And again, a lot of them are unconscious. They're programmed into us from when we were children. And that's why it's very difficult to just have a positive affirmation. Positive affirmations are great, or have an intention and expect everything to change, because these are deep-seated, deep-rooted beliefs. And we cannot change our conscious mind, we cannot change our subconscious mind from our conscious mind. So we have to tap into that subconscious mind. And just think, if you're thinking all of these unconscious thoughts, and all of us do it, I'm not good enough, I'll never be enough, I can't do it, it's too hard, they don't like me, no one likes me, all of these thoughts, and we're largely unaware of them, and they're thoughts and stuff that we say to ourselves that we would never say to another person. So it's all about first noticing those thoughts. And if you're extremely new to meditation, it can be really difficult, it can be scary, because once we start to notice all those thoughts, we're like, oh my God, like there are so many crazy thoughts going on in there, and it can be scary, and we think that we're not doing it right because now we're noticing all these thoughts, and it seems like our minds are so messy and there's so much going on, because there is, but you are doing it right. That's the first step. So please don't get discouraged if you feel like you're going crazy and things are getting worse, because it might seem like your mind is getting worse before it gets better. So the first step is noticing those thoughts, becoming the observer, the witness of those thoughts. And then maybe we can start to create space between our thoughts. And that's why the body scan that we do is so good, because it gives our mind a point of awareness. And then when we expand that awareness, I'm gonna get deeper into that kind of science in another video, in another document. But so just to recap, we're noticing our thoughts, and then maybe we start to find the space in between our thoughts. So when we wake up in the morning, we are a clean slate. And then all of a sudden, you probably notice your mind starts to go crazy. Your mind starts to wander, thinking about all the things that we have to do, all the places we have to go, people we have to see, blah, blah, blah. So that's why it's so important to catch yourself in the morning. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit more about our brain waves in next week, but we want to, when we first wake up, our brain waves are lower and then they start to rise. So we want to catch ourselves in that lower brainwave state, because it's easier to access that clean slate. So in the lower brainwave states, it's easier to calm the nervous system and to get into that meditative state. So that's why the first thing in the morning is so important. So when we have a thought, neurons in our brain fire and wire. And there's a law called Herb's Law that says neurons that fire together wire together. So we said we're thinking 95 or 90% of the thoughts that we have are the same that we had yesterday. So if we're thinking the same thoughts every single day, those are getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So if you've been thinking the same thoughts since you were a kid, those neural networks are very, very strong, and it is difficult to change those. It's not like we can just decide one day to change. We have to work at it every single day and create new neural pathways. So our bodies cannot tell the difference between what's going on in our mind and what's going on in physical reality. And there have been so many studies about this. So for example, wet dreams. There have been studies where they've had people curl biceps physically with weights, and then also have people curl weights with nothing. Just sit there and imagine curling the weight and squeezing the muscle. And although the people who were physically curling the weight gained more muscle, the people who were just sitting there and envisioning and feeling the muscle squeeze did gain muscle mass, which is wild. This is what professional athletes do, golfers. They visualize the shot. It's huge, huge, huge in golf and professional athletes. They visualize what they're gonna do, and that's how they make the shot. There's also another study that's been done with piano players. One group physically played the piano to practice, and one group did not touch a piano through the whole study, and they only played the keys in their mind, and they were able to play the song flawlessly. So there's been loads of study. It's a known phenomenon that what goes on in our brain and what goes on in physical reality, our body cannot tell the difference. So when we have an experience, there's a part of our brain called the limbic brain. It releases a chemical, and that is an emotion. And this changes your body chemically. And it teaches your body what your mind knows intellectually. So just think, when you're thinking the same thoughts every day, and if these are negative thoughts, stressful thoughts, your body is releasing those emotions, those negative emotions, fear, anger, scarcity, and we need to reprogram our brains to think more positive, high energy thoughts. So we are living in a higher vibration rather than that lower vibration of fear, scarcity, negativity. So I have the little chart on the document that I sent to you. If we wake up and we're having the same thoughts every single day, we're gonna make the same choices, we're gonna behave the same way, we're gonna have the same experiences, and we're gonna feel the same way. But if we can create new thoughts, we'll have new actions, new experiences, and new feelings. And then these new feelings will create new experiences. These new feelings will create new thoughts, new choices, and it becomes a circle. So either we're in a good circle of positive feedback loop or a negative feedback loop. So it's all about reprogramming our brains and reprogramming those new neural networks and strengthening those new neural networks. So 75% of people are living by the hormone of stress. So again, that is those are those negative thoughts, those stressful thoughts that create a chemical reaction, produce an emotion in our body. So when we are living by the hormone of stress, this causes our brain to fire incoherently. It's like a lightning storm going off in our brain, and we're losing all this energy that we could be using to create a new future. So when we're living by the hormone of stress, our cortisol is heightened, and our fight or flight response, fight, flight, run, or hide. So our blood is sent to our extremities and we want to get out of there. But say we're sitting in a meeting, or we're with our kids in a car, or we're talking to someone, we're interviewing, whatever it might be, and we can't actually physically run, fight, or hide. So our heart starts to beat, our heart starts to pump, sending blood to the extremities, and we're putting the brakes on. So our heart starts to pump incoherently. And all of this coherence in our body, in our brain, in our heart causes imbalance, and this is what causes disease and can lead to long-term illness. So A habit is the body being able to do something without the conscious mind. So we talked about this at the beginning. We wake up with a clean slate, but within moments, our attention goes to some problem related to some person in some place and in some time. And the chemicals related to those emotions are released. So we could say then, if this is the way we're waking up every morning, that our body is living in the predictable past. So we get caught in this thinking and feeling and thinking loop. And you could say that our environment, so the people, the problems, the places and things we need to do are creating our reality. So as we said before, you cannot change your subconscious mind from your conscious mind. So you can think a positive thought, but it won't get past your brain stem, all right? Because your body's saying something different than that thought, right? So even though we're putting a positive statement in, our body is programmed to those deep-rooted unconscious beliefs from the past. So the positive statement will not get in there. So when you wake up, we're like a computer program. We press play and the program runs. We're on auto drive, automatic. It's like, what do you do when you wake up in the morning? So many people wake up, check their email, check social media, check their phone, and you go into this reactive state. We want to start the day being proactive. How do we want to start our day? We want to hack and get into that program. And again, we can start with really good intentions. So we can start our day with that positive thought. But within a few hours, our body starts to take over and those old unconscious thoughts start to slip in, and we might not even notice that we are self-sabotaging without even realizing it. You might find yourself walking to the fridge, or something that I used to do is start cleaning the house, or saying, I'll start tomorrow, I'm too tired, and making these excuses for not doing the thing that you needed or wanted to do to get you moving forward. So in order to get from our old self to our new self, we must get into the void, into this place where we become no one, we think of nothing, think of nowhere and no time. And it's not easy, guys, and 15 minutes in the morning isn't a lot of time to get into that void. A lot of the time it does take longer. You might need to sit for a longer period of time to actually dip in and sink into that space. But I know people work, so over the course of the month, I'm going to start sending longer and longer meditations. So on the days that we're off or on the weekend, maybe you can start to tap into the longer meditations. And basically it's going to be a longer period of time of quiet. So as you notice in the beginning meditations, I'm talking a lot. We're grouping body parts together, and that's what we'll be doing for a lot of the body scan ones in the 15 minutes. But as we go on, I'll send you longer meditations, and again, there will be more silence for you to dip in and access that space. And again, remember, when we're new to meditation, or we're starting out, or even if we've taken a break and coming back into it, our thoughts are going to be there. Those neural networks are strong. So I always use an analogy of a car going down tracks, a car going down, like, say, a dirt road. So this car has been going down the dirt road for years and years and years, 30 years, or however old you are. And those grooves, it's like a muddy dirt road. Those grooves are really, really deep. And it's easy now. It's easy for that car to just go down those tracks the way it's always been going. But you're in the car and you see a new destination over here that you want to get to. And in order to do that, you need to make new tracks. And it is going to be hard because these old tracks are really, really deep, really, really, really worn down. So you really have to try to put your car into the new grooves. And it's hard, but you do it. But the next time you go, those old tracks are still there. You're tired, you don't want to have to move, it's going to take time. You could easily go down the old tracks, but no, you push through and you go through the new tracks. So this is like the neural networks in our brain. The more you use these new neural networks and fire and wire your brain in these new ways every single morning, every single day, those new neural networks are going to start getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and the old ones are going to start to get weaker, but they're still there. So if you lose if you do lose focus, and this happens all the time, and never ever beat yourself up for it, guys. If you go down those old neural networks, they are still there. And it's easy to dip back into that. So we have to make sure that we are committed and we are disciplined and we're consistent with this practice. So again, in order to get from that old self to the new self, we need to try and access that void. And the more we do it, the more we go down those new neural pathways, the easier it's going to get. And every time a thought comes into your mind and you just gently ask it to leave and you go back to the breath, back to the void, back to the body part, back to the blackness, you are strengthening those new neural networks. So never ever think that because you start to think that it's a failure. No, as soon as you notice that thought, that's a win. And every single time you do it, that's another win. So stay with it, stay with it. And that's why it's so important to do it every single morning. So we are trying to get into that void of nothingness. And when we get there, there is a chemical and hormonal and genetic death of our old self. We're crossing a river of change, of uncertainty, because there is that death and that sense of all these hormones and emotions that we've been addicted to for so long. Now what? Now what? How do we predict our future now? We create it. So we think every single morning, what thoughts do I no longer want to think? What thoughts do I want to think? What thoughts do I want to fire and wire and hardwire into my brain? What behaviors do I want to embody in one day and in my whole life? What thoughts do I not want to think anymore? And what experiences do I want to have? Who do I want to be? And it's important to write this down every single morning, go over it every morning. If you have it in your phone, on the screen of your phone, anywhere that you can see it, these mantras that you can repeat to yourself. If you catch yourself during the day coming back to those old thoughts, what are the thoughts you want to think? Can you repeat those mantras over and over and over again until they become hardwired in your brain? So as we said before, your body cannot tell the difference between what's happening in your mind and what's happening in the physical world. And if you're envisioning your new future and feeling as though you already have it, you're priming your brain for the future. So now it's no longer a record of the past, but it's a map of the future. So if you keep doing that over and over again and firing and wiring and strengthening those new connections, you might start to feel like the person you want to be because you've installed those networks and now you are becoming that person. So every single great person knew this. They believed in their future so much, they knew it already existed. So can you teach your body emotionally what your future looks like before it is made manifest? And that is how we draw our futures to us. So the things that keep us from our vision of our future, I kind of mentioned this, is our body, our environment, and our time. Either I'll start tomorrow, I have a headache, I don't feel like it, or I have places to go, people to see, or I don't have enough time. As we said, you cannot change your subconscious mind from your conscious mind. And that's why we do these meditation practices. That's why we do this work. We need to get past our analytical mind. We need to slow down the brain waves. That's why we do the breathing. That's why we do it first thing in the morning, and get into the void, the present moment. And if you can do this before bed as well, it's just another win. So again, meditation means to become familiar with. So we're becoming familiar with ourselves, with our thoughts. And as I said before, we can get frustrated when we sit down to meditate because it can be difficult, right? And we start to notice our thoughts. So just remember, be kind to yourself, give yourself compassion and love. And if you stick with me, guys, if you stay with this, stay with me on the lives and stay with it with the recordings I send to you. I promise that you will notice a huge difference. There's no way that you cannot. Stay with your journal entries and just commit to this practice, guys. I'm here with you if you ever have any questions or anything. So this is the first week. I'm going to be sending you a lot more information over the weeks. We're going to talk about our heart and a little bit of quantum physics, but I'm going to slowly give it to you guys so you don't get too overwhelmed. And again, please let me know if you have any questions. And that is about it. So thank you so much again for joining me. I hope this makes a little bit of sense. If it doesn't, please reach out and I will try and explain it better. And yeah, I will see you on Wednesday, Friday, and I will be sending on those, or if I haven't already, the other meditations. So thank you guys again so much. Have an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Namaste.